Some inns are known for their warm hearths and hearty meals. Others are remembered for what never left. In the world of Dungeons and Dragons, inns are common resting places. But sometimes, the real danger begins after you've hung up your sword. Tonight, we're opening 2 case files. Stories submitted by dungeon masters, who watched their players face horror not in the dungeon, but at the check-in desk. From the silent footsteps on the 2nd floor to the innkeeper who never aged, these aren't stories you'll find in a sourcebook. These are tales left behind by players who saw their games turn cold. Welcome to the Midnight Archive. Inns are more than safe havens. They're crossroads between lives, between stories, and between the known and the forgotten. They exist at the edge of comfort and secrecy, a place to lower your guard. Softer tone. But horror thrives in comfort. It waits in guestbooks with too many names. It flickers in lanterns lit long before you arrive. Let's begin with our first tale, one that starts with a weary party seeking shelter and a guest who never checked out. This happened during a mini-campaign I ran a few years back, 3 sessions through a haunted marshland. The players were tired after a brutal encounter with a banshee the night before, so I gave them a place to rest, a cozy roadside inn called the Briarflame Hearth. It was tucked into the base of a gnarled hill, with ivy-covered beams and a mossy roof. I described it as warm, inviting, just a little too perfect. Looking back, maybe I should have telegraphed more. But I was going for subtle horror, not jump scares. The party consisted of a tiefling bard, human paladin, elven ranger, and a dwarven warlock. It felt too convenient, and they knew it. That was the point. The players were suspicious, but they were also tired. In character and out of character. The warlock made a joke. "We're gonna get possessed by pillows." That kind of gallows humor. But once they stepped inside, the joking stopped. The hearth was already lit. The innkeeper greeted them by name, claimed a local courier sent word ahead. Nobody remembered doing that. The tiefling bard was the first to hesitate. She whispered, "Oh, see, I don't like this." But the rest of the party was ready to rest. They rationalized it away. The paladin asked if the inn had a shrine or chapel. The innkeeper just smiled and said, "All are watched over here. No gods mentioned." The ranger noticed the wallpaper was patterned with twisting vines, same as outside. She rolled investigation, got a 12. I told her the vines weren't painted. They were grown into the wall. She didn't press it. Then there was the cloaked figure by the fire. Never moved, never ate, just watched. The bard approached. She rolled insight low again. All I said was, "They feel familiar. In a way you can't explain." She stepped back. Later, the warlock cast Detect Magic during dinner and got faint conjuration pings on the stew. Nothing harmful, just preserved. I saw the party exchange glances. That's when they started to suspect something was off. The ranger made a perception check outside before turning in. So I told her she saw footprints, but they looped in a circle and ended behind her. Each character had different dreams. That night, I sent them private messages. The paladin dreamt of marching into an empty battlefield. His armor rusted shut. The ranger walked endlessly through fog, always back to the inn. The warlock saw a second version of himself smiling from his reflection, mouthing words he couldn't hear. The bard? She didn't dream at all. She just woke up, rested, but anxious. The bard was the only one who stayed up. She cast alarm on her door and started poking around. She checked the guestbook. 22 names. The inn only had 4 rooms. One entry was hers, already signed in before she arrived. That's when she tried something I didn't expect. She cast message to the cloaked figure downstairs. I told her, "The message doesn't echo in your mind. It's answered." The voice says, "It's rude to speak across rooms. Come down instead." That's when she woke the others. The party gathered in her room. As they were debating what to do, The alarm spell triggered. I described footsteps. Slow, deliberate, just outside the door. They readied spells. The bard looked through the keyhole. She didn't see anything outside the door. She saw something behind her. A second version of herself standing silently at the window. Roll for initiative. The bard acted first. She didn't attack. She cast mirror image. 4 versions of her shimmered into existence. The doppelganger at the window just smiled and mouthed, "You finally fit." She didn't try to break in. She didn't lash out. She just waited. The warlock swung the door open. Nothing in the hall. The figure vanished. The hallway grew quiet again. And in the morning, the cloaked figure was gone. The guestbook had her name twice. Once normal, once in backward script. Not attacked. Invited. That's the part that stuck with them. The entity didn't force its way in. It didn't need to. It waited for the players to invite it by staying, by resting, by believing the inn was safe. It mirrored their comfort. It wanted them to belong. The bard never failed a save, never took damage. But she came closest to being taken because she felt connected. The players realized afterward, the inn didn't consume guests through violence. It reflected them until they let their guard down. Then it replaced them. Player agency is the soul of horror in TTRPGs. You don't need to strip control. You need to make choices terrifying. This DM used subtle clues, misdirection, and individual dread to let each player feel the danger before it struck. Next time you describe a warm bed in a cold world, remember, the scariest thing might be how welcoming it feels, because not all monsters break down doors. Some wait until you make the bed. This one-shot started as a Halloween session, but it turned into something way deeper. The town was called Talomir, built along a fog-drenched road connecting 2 bigger cities. People there never stayed out after dark. All their doors faced away from the inn. The party arrived during a thunderstorm. A half-orc barbarian, gnome artificer, halfling rogue, and a human cleric of the Dawn Mother. Classic mix. The Withering Root was the only lit building in town. A half-burned wooden sign swayed over the door, and inside was the innkeeper. Alone. Waiting. Inside was Alwyn, the innkeeper. Polite, calm, out of place. Everything about him was preserved, like a portrait left too long in the sun. They asked questions, got evasive answers. One player joked OC. He's either a vampire or a lich with hospitality. The table laughed, but unease had already set in. As they explored, they started noticing things, items too familiar. A painting in the hall that looked exactly like the rogue, dagger in hand. A broken holy symbol matching the cleric's, tucked beneath his bed. A journal upstairs with the artificer's name, written in fluid ink as if freshly signed. And then the barbarian found the axe. It was mounted over the fireplace, huge, chipped, ancient. When she touched it, I had her roll a wisdom save. She failed. I told her the handle felt warm, like it remembered her grip. I described the faint sound of screaming metal, and then she saw herself, reflected in the blade, but older, scarred, and whispering, "You left me here." She dropped it immediately. It hit the floor with a sound too deep for wood and steel, like it landed on something buried. After that, she wouldn't go near the hearth again. In the morning, the town was gone, just swamp and mist. The inn stood alone. That's when Alwyn returned, now clearly undead, still smiling. He begged them not to leave. He said, "I can't hold it back if you leave, but if you stay, I can keep you safe." The cleric, trying to make sense of it all, rolled a religion check on the holy symbol he found. Natural 20. I paused, told him he felt a sudden pull, like the symbol opened a divine channel, and then came the vision. I described it in fragments. The inn burning, townsfolk screaming, Alwyn chained inside, performing a ritual with blood on his hands. Not to hurt them, but to protect them. They turned on him. He died cursing himself to keep them safe. The cleric staggered. In character, he said, "We were never meant to fight him." The cleric had pieced it together. Alwyn had been cursed to protect the town from something older, a pact he made centuries ago. But the townsfolk turned on him and burned him alive inside the inn. His soul stayed bound, holding the real horror at bay. The players cast greater restoration on his remains. It didn't kill him, freed him. Alwyn's eyes filled with tears. He thanked them and vanished. The inn collapsed. The town reappeared. But all the buildings were ruined, as if they'd been gone 100 years. But the one-shot didn't end there. After the collapse, the cleric started hearing whispers, just like Alwyn described in his vision. He realized the curse wasn't broken. It had just moved on. To him. The rest of the session became a desperate hunt through the ruined town to find the source, the thing Alwyn had been holding back all those years. And when they finally found it, a twisted, leech-like entity hidden beneath the chapel, they fought it, banished it, and with that, time snapped back. The town was whole, the inn gone, Alwyn remembered, and at peace. Sometimes horror is a hand passed down, a burden one soul carries until another is strong enough to lift it. This one-shot gave players not just scares, but responsibility, insight, and a mystery they solved on their own. A natural 20 didn't end the story. It revealed the truth, and let the players decide what to do with it. Curses don't die. They move, until someone chooses to bear them. Inns are meant to be safe places, places where stories pause, where adventurers breathe. But sometimes, the walls remember more than they should. And sometimes, the night doesn't end when the dice stop rolling. If you've had your own haunted session, or a tale where the table turned against you, leave it below. The archive is always open, and always listening. Until next time, may your roads be clear, your rooms be empty, and your name not already written in the guestbook.